If you were missing Maximus in the first episode of Fallout Season 2, then you're in for a feast, with Maximus proving himself as quite the hardened commander in the second episode. But that's not all. We also open into an area that the fans might not have been prepared for, an area that has had sufficient fan theories over the years. So let's get into understanding the ending of the second episode of Fallout Season 2, and whether or not Hank is done with the exploding heads. Ending explained. Are you not entertained? I mean, this episode was all about Maximus, and the man proves himself quite clearly and connects some dots that we might have missed before. If you were thinking we were continuing with the same Maximus from the previous season, it's essential to note that the character has undergone a hardened journey. No wonder they only gave us a glimpse of Maximus in the previous episode. Quintus had been planning his move against the Commonwealth ever since the Brotherhood got the cold fusion reactor in his hands, and his plans might be bigger than any individual, including Maximus. Even though Dane had questions about Maximus' complete change from someone who used to mock the Brotherhood to someone who appears to be the commander of this chapter. But there's something that's driving him, and it's not just the fact that he proved himself as someone who can survive out there and retrieve the cold fusion reactor, or someone who helped out Lucy. The opening moments of the episode showcase the time when Shady Sands was bombed while Maximus was just a kid and lost both his parents during the explosion. This did justify a lot more about his arc in the previous episode as someone who didn't have a sense of belonging. But now Quintus had become somewhat of a father figure to him. Yeah, Quintus called him son, and even though we don't get to see much of Quintus' side in these episodes, it's clear that the man knows how to use Maximus. But the moment when Maximus proves his motivation, even as he's somewhat questioning Quintus, is during the friendly fight that marks the new alliance of the Brotherhood chapters. Maximus is challenged to a battle by another fellow knight who must have heard about Maximus' glory, and this guy could have easily killed the old Maximus. But Maximus puts him down pretty easily and kills him with his own knife, proving that he isn't the person we'd seen in the previous season. He's much stronger now. I mean, that moment where he glances at Quintus pretty much felt like the glances that Maximus Decimus Meritus gave to the king during the gladiator fights. Right after he knocks out the other knight, Paladin Harkness arrives at the scene on his ship, suspecting what Dane had said earlier about the Civil War. Now that's somewhat interesting to see the Commonwealth appear to be a governing body, looking after the operations of the Brotherhood. In the game, the Commonwealth was a region of America, encompassing the state of Massachusetts and its capital, Boston. But here, the Commonwealth sounds like a pretty ruthless governing body. I mean, the fact that the chapters weren't willing to go against it kinda made that clear. We didn't really get much update on them, but now that Kumail Nanjiani is here as Paladin Harkness, a pretty Star Warsy name that could have put him next to any Sith, we might have a better insight into the workings of the Commonwealth. It's still cool to imagine that the very next enemy that the Brotherhood could be facing is witnessing the Brotherhood's commander at the moment in his full glory after having killed a knight. Two things become very clear by the end. Firstly, the Civil War is pretty much happening, and secondly, the one who'll be taking the lead and going against the Commonwealth is none other than Maximus himself. The man has gone to the dark side, and only one person could actually help him out, Lucy. But then, Lucy's father, the very man that she's been seeking out since the first season, is the same person who pushed Maximus onto the path he's on now. So it won't be surprising if even Lucy fails to be of much help to him. Let's check out some of the other details that popped up in the episode, and I believe there are a few rather interesting ones. I mean, we got to see Area 51. Area 51. Alien in a freezer. Yep, the Brotherhood found a new base of operations, and even though it has significant functionality for the cold fusion reactor, fans got a chance to witness Area 51 in a post-apocalyptic world. Not unlike the way Indiana Jones movies have shared a glance at this mysterious place, we get to see a lot of interesting secrets pop out as the Brotherhood opens up the bay doors and walks right into this base. But one of the first things that they discover is a freezer, and do note that freezers are very important in this world, considering you don't want to spoil your food, and Maximus survived in one when Shady Sands was decimated. But as they pop open the freezer, they find the frozen corpse of an alien. And yes, that right away confirms that aliens are canon. Now, one would think that this is one of the biggest things, uncovering the alien secret at Area 51. However, our friends from the Brotherhood are still excited about the freezer, and they throw the extraterrestrial frozen popsicle off. Apart from that, there was an alien shock baton, the Declaration of Independence, a cryolator, and a plasma grenade that became a plaything for two of the armored knights, and I absolutely get why they would do that. Finally, there was a gorgeous red car, one that they blew up minutes later. I mean, I wish I could have seen a little bit more of this place than what they showed, but the purpose of getting into this place was just so that they could work on the cold fusion reactor, and use it to convince the other chapters of the Brotherhood to come together, and go against the Commonwealth. But there's more to this alien than meets the eye, because the Fallout games do have aliens in their canon. The extraterrestrial race known as the Zetans. The Mothership Zeta DLC isn't the only popular one, but it gives a lot more insight into their lore, and this might just be one of the Zetans that the US government was holding captive. As mentioned in the first first game. In fact, aliens were supposed to be part of the games, apart from the DLC, especially New Vegas, but Joshua Sawyer felt that Bethesda had already done its alien work with the DLC. Lucy meets Caesar's Legion. One would think that after going through the many harrowing experiences in the previous scene and the latest interaction with the Bark Scorpions and the Rad Scorpion, Lucy would know better to keep the ghoul around. But she decided to help out a poor girl even though Cooper had warned her not to, having known their kind, especially the weird tunics they were wearing. Even though Lucy said she would be coming back for Cooper, she kind of abandoned him, despite all the talk about her golden rule. So Lucy sets out on her own journey to return the injured girl home. As they get closer to their destination, the girl starts talking in a rather ominous tone, until finally, she finds herself surrounded by a group of people who seem to be wearing their mother's drapes. Yeah, an Iron Man joke. Anyway, these people seem to all be in Roman Empire outfits, a moment that also reminded me of the Jimmy Gang from 28 years later. Anyway, this group is none other than Caesar's Legion, a faction of survivors modeled on ancient Rome, at war with the New California Republic. Lucy should have taken into consideration her thoughts about the woman she was saving, as these people are rather brutal, and they pretty much follow everything that was wrong with the Roman Empire, including slavery, misogyny, crucifixion, and the murderous conquest. It's not that they were doing a Shakespearean production and went too method, but rather that, to them, this is the best ideology to adhere to in this post-apocalyptic hellscape for survival. So, Lucy might have bitten off more than she can chew, and the gunslinger might have to come to rescue her once again. Norm and his father. Something's cooking. The last time we saw Norm, he decided to thaw some people out, and right after he did, they started asking him about Bud Askins. So Norm took the initiative and told him that Bud is dead, and that the bot that had been bothering him all this time was in pieces. That Norm is a genetically engineered super manager who's been handed Bud's buds, and that escaping this vault is Bud's final test for them. Even though these are absolute blatant lies, the idea of doing something for Bud and getting one of the merit dots, also known as the round band-aids, drives these people, and they figure out a way out of the vault. So Norm is finally out there, but the one that keeps us wondering is whether he has broken the Roomba and kept Bud's brain somewhere. There's definitely a lot that could be retrieved from his brain, and it would be helpful to lead this team of Bud's best. Meanwhile, Norm's father has been keeping himself busy working on the chip, and after failing quite a few tests on the mice from the livestock department, he's gone to the Premium Elite Plus people for his test subjects. I mean, the man that Hank picks is probably the worst, but then it's only a matter of time before he runs out of the worst ones, and the others also become his test subjects. So there's more splashing heads, the one thing we did expect him to continue. Although Hank does take the moral high ground with his Premium Elite Plus guy for abandoning his family, we did get a chilling look at Hank's work in the opening minutes of the episode. Shady Sands showed us that there was a chance at some hope for humanity, with Maximus' father working on getting water and a somewhat self-sufficient community. This was the closest to an old world city that post-war America had seen, and it all came crashing down when one trader walked around with a Brahmin. I mean, the two-headed cow, uttering the popular words, "Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter." The man had one of those Mr. House chips on his neck and a bomb on his cart, and it detonated. Hank overlooked the mission from his house and then read a story to his kids. But what's even more sinister about this sequence is the fact that Maximus' father feels like he had defused the bomb, only for the failsafe to trigger it, giving the man a rejection right after he thought he'd saved the day. Yeah, so Hank doesn't have any reason to hold a moral high ground anywhere. Predictions for the next episode. There are quite a few developments once again, and these might just be the events that will drive the rest of the series. Lucy's fate amongst Caesar's Legion could either lead to another revelation or a moment for Maximus to come to her rescue once again. I do remember a sequence from one of the trailers where Maximus was seen fighting someone next to some Roman statues, but the series might keep us waiting for a while before Maximus and Lucy are reunited, and keep the ghoul as the savior for this girl. Hank might just continue his experiments, and this time, we can expect him to become a lot more ruthless unless he achieves the success he was striving for with the chip. There might just be a few more popped heads before that happens. Meanwhile, Bud's buds might give Norm a chance to explore a few more vaults, so that he can get some much needed answers and also go back to his vault and find the true villain who had been living amongst them. But the bigger story at hand at the moment is the Brotherhood Alliance going against the Commonwealth, something that will have a significant impact on the politics of whatever remains in this wasteland. Even though the teasers and trailers have hinted at the idea of full-scale war, there might be time for that yet. After all, Paladin has just arrived at the scene, and he may take some time to work on a few things before they're pitted against one another. He might try to change Quintus' mind, just like every factory owner does with the unions, but then Quintus seemed to be very much driven by his plans, and it might be a task. At the same time, the way that Maximus was pitted against the Knight could actually have had some change of heart for him, and Dane's words could have had an impact. The man has chosen his path, but there's a chance that this path could lead to the end of the Brotherhood, and Maximus might just realize that any time now. Last but not least, we have to take a chance to meet Mr. House again. With Cooper's mission from Moldaver to kill the man. But since the teasers have made it clear that the man is already aware of this plan, Mr. House might change his mind and take it into a larger lore, about how Cooper himself could be the individual who started it all. Mr. House might be ruthless, but actor Justin Theroux has clarified that he doesn't see him as a villain, and that could mean a lot more than we might have expected. Marvelous verdict. Have you been watching the end credits for the episodes? Because I have. And since episode 1, there has been some major Easter eggs all through the end credits. There was a lot about Prim in the outro for the first episode, along with glances at some of the major attractions of the place, including the Bison Steve Hotel, Vicky and Van's Casino, and finally Mojave Express. And that brings us to the outro for the second episode. And this time around, we saw the Go Wasp banner around the football stadium that could be serving as the base of operations for the Legion. Yeah, they might just have a wasp as their mascot, and that could be a fun detail that could play out later in the series.